Might need to zoom out a little bit, but hello everybody. Okay, so this is a Spartan version of the multi-rig. Often there can be more rings than this. Okay, there might be 2, there might be 3, there might be 4. All right, but the technique I'm going to show you is with just 2. But what I will show you is as if there was 3 or 4, and different techniques to do that depending on your ability. And then also what we've got is a parallel bar. Okay, so there'll be approximately about this length. So I'll show you a couple of different ways to traverse along that. And then we'll look at the ropes as well, also known as donkey dicks. So I'll show you how to grab the donkey dicks in the right way. And then at the end of this, we've got a nice big ball to represent the bell. For the ropes, there could be 2 of them, there could be 1 of them, there could be 3 of them. They may be different thicknesses. The rubber might be in different places. All right, so what I will do is I'll give you as much knowledge based on what I've got, but just bear in mind, there might actually be a difference come your race, okay? So let's look at the first component of it with the rings. Now, for the most part, what you'll see a lot of elite level athletes do is jump out to maybe the 2nd or the 3rd ring. And sometimes that's what I'll do. But it's really going to depend on the weather as well, and the conditions, and whether there's any moisture on the rings or there's any other little variables. So instead of jumping in, what I suggest is reaching out. Okay, so setting yourself. I like to lead with my non-dominant hand for the most part, and that gives me a lot more strength on my rear hand. So when I'm in this position, immediately I'm here. Another point is bent arm position. So in other videos, I've spoken about the importance of bent arm dead hang strength and training that, as well as just typical dead hangs and working on the scapula. So if you type that into the search bar, you'll find those videos as well, because they're massively important when we're doing this. Also, power to weight ratio is another huge one, because none of this can really be achieved if that is out of balance. Okay, so for example, power is a combination of speed and strength, and then the other part of that is the weight, which is made up of body mass. But in particular, what we're talking about is body fat. So we wanted to get body fat as low as possible whilst being as healthy as possible, and then alongside that working on the speed and strength component. And then when it comes into this, you can be more fluid. You can go across the obstacle with the power that you individually need to complete this obstacle, but then also you're preventing injuries. All right, and I've had shoulder injuries from different types of rigs, twister before, purely because I didn't have the technique tied down. So this is why we're going to talk about this component, actually working on the rings, the parallel bar, the ropes, so we can actually focus on the technique. Now, a big thing I get, especially from people in the US, is I don't have access to an obstacle course. Yeah, I didn't for many years. And actually all I had was a similar setup to the bars over there, where I had 3 pull-up bars of different heights, so I could practice different techniques. And then I would grab different attachments, okay, that can either be made at home or purchased online. So I didn't have the donkey dicks. Okay, so what I actually bought was a deadlifting strap that can go on. Yeah, and these are really gnarly. These are fucking horrible, to be honest, when you're doing dead hangs with them. But in order to be able to practice that technique as well, like getting some chalk, if you get some chalk, whether it's the powdered stuff or the liquid stuff, actually allows you to hang for longer and get more training value out of what you're actually doing. Okay, clearly in races you won't have chalk. I don't think you're allowed for the most part, but that doesn't really matter. Like, the benefits of using chalk in training is actually get more reps out of what you're doing, rather than just slipping and sliding off. But also not using chalk at times as well. So you actually feel how it'll be on race day, and also training in the wet. So don't be part of the problem by going, oh, I don't have an obstacle course, I don't have access to all this kit and equipment. For the most part, you don't actually need it. You need to work on the power, the speed, the strength in training, and you need to work on your nutrition, your sleep, the rest of your lifestyle to lower that body fat percentage. Anyway, bit of a tangent. So let's lean out and set ourselves up. So I'm not actually going in forward. I see a lot of people coming here and then swinging through, which is completely fine. And I think that will apply to the majority of people. However, we need to have that shoulder strength and good grip to be able to swing through in that first place. As you can see, I'm here, and in previous videos I've showed you this pendulum, which can be used, okay, and will still be used, and I'll elaborate on that in a bit more. So that straight arm, that swing through, may be more appealing to people that haven't got the bent arm dead hang strength yet. But if you're someone that's got the bent arm dead hang strength, this really allows us to move through the obstacle very, very fast with that power. Okay, so I'm already here. Okay, so you get the gist. I'm very, very fast, but often we don't always need to be fast. We need to go through it fluidly, smoothly, in order to efficiently pass the obstacle. And this is a big part of racing as well. It's not just about being fast, it's about being efficient. And when we're efficient, we actually conserve energy. And when we conserve energy, we have more energy for the later part of the courses. Now, I've used the technique that I showed you at the start of this video many times, and actually in races it's allowed me to gain positions on like literally the last obstacle of the race before crossing the finish line and overtake people. Why? Because I'm very efficient, I'm very confident, I'll take the risks at that particular point of the race. But not in all cases is that necessary. This could be at the start of the race, this could be at the middle of the race. Okay, so the main thing we want to do is work on what works for you as an individual based on your current level of ability, rather than trying to do massive leaps with the initial part of the obstacle or within the obstacle as an entirety. So rings, majority of people have done them, but a big pitfall I see people do is they start on the first ring. So imagine there's a first ring here, and then immediately as soon as they do that, they stop dead or they're swinging, and then they can't reach that one or whatever, and then they're kind of in limbo. So always make sure you reach out to either the second, potentially even the third one, and then immediately you're into this swing. Okay, so I've used that momentum all the way to come through to that point. If we don't do that immediately, it's very hard, because I'm just going to hang, and then I'm trying to fight it like this, and then I'm going like this, and then I'm swinging back because I don't have the strength, and then I'm here, and then I've got no momentum, and then I'm hanging, and then it's an absolute cluster. So setting conditions, how we mean to go on for the rest of the obstacle, is massively important at the start. So think about momentum, how you can carry that momentum forward, almost like a pendulum, and really bringing the hips in as well is massively important. So even practicing this, which can be just practiced on a straight bar. So just going into a hang and then working on those hips. Okay, and then when you get a bit more confident with that, you can then bring the hands off. Okay, so that's what I'd suggest. Hanging, dead hangs, working on that pendulum with the hips, and also working on that bent arm dead hang strength. Okay, and a big one is people say, oh, I can't do pull-ups. Well, this is kind of in between, but a lot of people can actually jump and lower. So that's something that can really help with improving your bent arm position, is working on negative pull-ups or negative chin-ups, and that will give you so much for this. All right, so now we took a look at the rings, let's look at the parallel bar. So as you notice, when I got here, I'm in this position here. Okay, so actually I can continue with that momentum. So the real important point here is actually with the leading hand not to grab near the strap, but just a little bit further out. And the reason for that is as you come in, you can put your non-leading hand in position. So have a look at this. Don't worry too much about my technique. It's just what I'm going to use for this. But further out, meets, and then when we're here, I've got this pendulum technique. Hand out, hand in, pendulum. Hand out, hand in, pendulum. Hand out, hand in. Okay, so that's what we want to practice. Now I hear you saying, well, I don't have the parallel bar. But what you do have is a pull-up bar. So exactly the same technique can be practiced here, whether you've got this much room or whether you've got this much room. Okay, that can be practiced. Okay, so in. Okay, it's hard for me to actually do that on this, so I'm going to practice it on this bit. Okay, so one side, pendulum. Okay, so it's a little bit harder on that because it's a small area, and also it's a static bar versus this one actually moving. But if anything, that works in our favor that this one's moving and that one's static. So if you can do it on a static bar, i.e. a bar that doesn't move, you'll simply be able to do it when it moves. So yeah, and little things like practicing twister as well when you go backwards, or even pull-up bars or anything like that that you can traverse across and put these on a bar to go from left to right will really help on that. Okay, so just to summarize on that, when you come in, don't grab by the strap, grab a little bit wider, and then what's going to happen is okay, so whether that is in the straight arm position or the bent arm position, for the most part with this one, it's going to be straight arm. And then with the bent arm, not so much swinging. Actually, we're bracing the core and we're really shifting it across it with speed. Okay, so once we've done that, then what we're going to look to do is traverse from the parallel bar onto the ropes. Okay, now this is another important one, and actually where we can go very wrong actually is like I mentioned on the start of the rings. If you start on the first ring, what happens is there's no momentum because we've not reached out, and what ends up happening is we start on the first or second ring, we don't get the momentum, and we end up hanging. So when we go back to this obstacle, we've created momentum, we continue forward with momentum, but then what can often happen is we grab the rope and then people hang and they're like, oh fuck, I can't reach. And immediately this is hard for me to do that, you see, because there was no momentum. So what I want you to focus on is continuing that momentum forward by reaching out a little bit further. So that might mean bypassing the first rope, which means you might have to reach a little bit further. But in doing that, if I'm from there to there, as soon as I have both hands on here, I end up being in this position where I'm like, okay. And I can hit the bell, you see? So this is the importance of momentum. And with practice and time, this will be a lot easier and you can become a lot confident. So you can imagine now if that rope was there, that actually would have been a lot easier for me Yeah, this is how much swing I've got. Okay. I got asked an important question a few minutes ago, actually, about technique on different obstacles and balls. Okay, and in particular, what hand to lead with and how to make sure that you can continue through without stumbling yourself. For instance, like on a ball, you can now see that my left hand is trapped, so I can't reach to the left. But actually now, what you can do is reach to the right. If you see what I mean. So exactly the same thing applies to the rope. Now, if I come off the parallel bar and I grab the rope with my leading hand, and actually I grab too high on the rope, I personally feel like I obstruct myself. And then also when I go to traverse, actually I'm already a fist to a fist and a half lower, which means it's actually harder to grab that. Okay, so this sounds counterintuitive, but if you watch now, I grab low, then I grab high, low, high, bell. So I'm not obstructing myself. Now this is just a personal preference. This would be something you'd want to practice yourself. But now if I go and grab high and then there, I'm going to do it properly because I was intentionally making that look shit. But if I grab low, in fact, I fucked it up. I was meant to grab high. So I grab high, so I can't untrain what I'm meant to be doing. And then, you see that? I've already dropped. So it's already a struggle. So these minor details that actually seem very insignificant are very significant when it comes to tying it all together, okay? So now that I've blew my biceps out, practicing this 100 times, we'll tie it all together. And then what you can do is review this video to break it down in different ways. Okay, so just to reiterate, if you don't have rings, I suggest buying some rings because you can put them on any straight bar. If you don't have the parallel bar with straps on, that's completely fine. Find a pull-up bar, a straight bar, whatever it may be, and that can represent that. And believe me, if you can practice on a static bar, for example, one like this, not one like this that moves, when you come to do this, it'll be a lot easier. And then if you don't have access to donkey dicks, don't know where to buy them, just buy some rope, cut it down, because this grip is very different to a thinner grip, but it's good to have variety. But you can just buy deadlifting straps. In 2020 and 2021, when I won the national series, I just done a lot of dead hangs with these. Okay, and they're deadlifting straps. Okay, and they're brutal, fucking savage, but it made my grip insanely strong. Okay, so I'll show you a couple of the different techniques. I'll show you the efficient one, and then I'll show you the powerful one. So reaching out, creating that momentum. Okay, so that's the first one, and obviously continue to run through. So that was more of the efficient one. I will show you another thing on the rings actually that I'd done there, which you probably noticed that was slightly different. And that was using two hands on each ring from the straight arm position. And then I'll show you the more powerful, explosive version now. And I hit the floor. So that would have been a fail, but hey ho. Final thing I'll mention is if that's too much and you can't swing through, then very similar technique to what we used on the bar. Two hands out, two hands out, two hands. We can use that on the rings. Okay, so leaning out with two hands. but still the same thing applies with the hips. All good. Well, I've had a good workout, so enjoy that.